What happens when a woman left for dead in the wilderness is saved not by her own people, but by the man she was taught to fear? This story of survival, honor, and unexpected compassion challenges everything they both believed about the world. But how far will that trust carry them in a land ruled by violence? Thank you so much for watching and for all your comments. Let me know at the end if you liked this story, and where you're watching from and why you're following this. In the harsh expanse of the Texas frontier, 1878, Sarah Blackwood had always been the resilient one. At 26, with auburn hair that caught the sunlight and eyes that reflected the vast sky above, she had endured more than most. Her father's ranch lay 15 miles outside of Laredo, a modest spread that they had built from nothing after her mother's passing years before. "Pa, I'll be back before sundown," Sarah called out, tightening the cinch on her mare's saddle. "Mr. Jenkins needs these medicines for his wife." Thomas Blackwood nodded, his weathered face creasing with concern. "Take the rifle, girl. Those Comanche raids have been getting closer." Sarah smiled reassuringly. "The treaty's been holding for months now. Besides, I know these trails better than most men." The journey to town was uneventful, the afternoon sun beating down on the dusty trail. Sarah delivered the herbal remedies she had prepared to the Jenkins family, collected supplies from the general store, and was preparing to head back when she noticed them 4 men by the saloon, watching her with predatory interest. "Miss Blackwood," the tallest one called out, his voice carrying the slur of whiskey. "Mighty fine day for a lady to be out alone." Sarah recognized him as Wade Thornton, a notorious outlaw whose gang had been terrorizing the region. She tightened her grip on her reins. "Good day, gentlemen," she replied curtly, mounting her horse. "Not so fast." Thornton stepped forward, grabbing her mare's bridle. "Heard your pa's got quite the cash box hidden away at that ranch of yours. Wouldn't mind if you showed us where." "My father carries no wealth except his good name," Sarah replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Now unhand my horse." The laughter that followed chilled her blood. "Boys, looks like we're escorting the lady home." What happened next unfolded with terrifying speed. Sarah kicked her horse and broke free, galloping toward home with the outlaws in pursuit. For miles she maintained her lead until her mare caught a hoof in a prairie dog hole. The fall sent Sarah tumbling, pain lancing through her side as she hit the ground. When Thornton's gang caught up, their intentions had darkened with fury at the chase. "Search her bags," Thornton ordered. "Then we'll pay her pa a visit anyway." "Ain't nothing here but medicines and supplies," one of the men reported. Thornton's face twisted with anger. "Waste of our time then." His boot connected with Sarah's ribs, making her cry out, "Leave her. The coyotes will clean up." The beating that followed left Sarah drifting in and out of consciousness. She was aware of the men taking her horse, her supplies, even her boots. Then they were gone, leaving her broken and bleeding in the growing dusk. Hours passed. The stars emerged in the vast Texas sky, cold and distant. Sarah tried to move, but pain racked her body. The realization settled on her like the chill of night she would die here, alone in the wilderness. It was then that she heard it, the soft thud of hoofbeats approaching. She tried to call out, but her parched throat produced only a whisper. Through swollen eyes, she saw a silhouette against the starlit sky, a rider, tall and still upon his horse. The figure dismounted with fluid grace and approached. Sarah braced herself for more brutality, but instead, gentle hands examined her injuries. In the moonlight, she caught glimpses of the stranger, a Comanche warrior, his face painted with traditional markings, his long black hair adorned with a single eagle feather. He spoke, his voice deep and accented. "White men did this." Sarah managed a weak nod. The warrior was silent for a long moment. Then, with surprising tenderness, he wrapped her in his blanket and lifted her onto his horse. She felt him mount behind her, one strong arm securing her. Against his chest, I am Two Rivers, he said simply. I will take you to safety. As consciousness slipped away, Sarah wondered if she had been rescued or if this was merely a different path to her doom. The steady heartbeat of the Comanche warrior against her back was the last thing she remembered as the night enveloped them both. Sarah drifted in and out of consciousness as Two Rivers carried her through the night. The rhythmic motion of the horse beneath them and the warrior's steady presence kept her anchored to life despite the pain that radiated through her body with every breath. "Why?" she managed to whisper during a moment of clarity. "Why help me?" Two Rivers was silent for so long that Sarah thought he hadn't heard her question. When he finally spoke, his voice was measured, each word chosen carefully. "The stars guided me to you," he said. "The same stars that watched when white settlers killed my wife and daughter 3 winters ago." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the night air. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I do not seek your sorrow," Two Rivers replied, "only to honor what they taught me, that cruelty should not be answered with more cruelty." As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Sarah realized they were not heading toward Laredo or her father's ranch. "Where are you taking me?" she asked, her voice stronger now despite her injuries. "To Morning Sky. She is a healer among my people. Your wounds are deep." "My father," Sarah protested weakly. "He'll think I'm dead." Two Rivers adjusted his hold on her as they navigated a rocky slope. "First, we ensure you do not become what he fears." They arrived at a small camp nestled against a cliff face, hidden from casual observation. An elderly woman emerged from a teepee, her face lined with the wisdom of years. She spoke rapidly to Two Rivers in Comanche, her eyes assessing Sarah with clinical precision. "This is Morning Sky," Two Rivers explained as he gently lowered Sarah from the horse. "She says your spirit is strong, but your body needs much healing." The next few days passed in a blur of pain and strange-smelling poultices. Morning Sky's gentle hands worked tirelessly, binding Sarah's broken ribs, cleaning her wounds, and feeding her broths that tasted of earth and herbs. Two Rivers came and went, bringing fresh game and occasionally sitting silently beside her as she rested. On the 4th day, when Sarah was finally able to sit up without assistance, she found her voice again. "I need to get word to my father," she said to Two Rivers as he entered the teepee. "He must be frantic." The warrior nodded. "I have watched your ranch from afar. Men with badges search the lands. Your father offers a reward." Sarah closed her eyes briefly. "The men who did this, they're still out there." "Thornton's gang," Two Rivers confirmed. "They are known even among my people for their cruelty." "How do you know it was Thornton?" Sarah asked, surprised. Two Rivers' expression darkened. "Their leader wears a silver watch chain that once belonged to a Comanche chief. They have raided both white settlements and my people's camps. They respect no boundaries." Sarah thought of the silver chain she had glimpsed at Thornton's vest. "They'll go back to our ranch. My father is alone." "Your concern is right, but your body is not yet ready for travel," Morning Sky said, entering the teepee with a fresh poultice. Her English was accented but clear. "2 more days of healing. Then you may go." That evening, as Sarah sat outside watching the sunset, Two Rivers joined her. They sat in companionable silence until Sarah found the courage to ask the question that had been troubling her. "Why do you risk helping me?" "Your people and mine. There is so much blood between us." Two Rivers gazed at the horizon. "Before the white man came, my people believed that all humans were one tribe under the same sky. This wisdom was forgotten by many, but not by all." He turned to look at her directly. "Not by me. My mother taught me something similar," Sarah said softly. "Before she died, she told me to judge people by their actions, not by what others say of them." "Your mother was wise," Two Rivers replied. Like Morning Sky, she understood that healing comes from seeing truth, not from clinging to old wounds. As night fell, Sarah found herself telling Two Rivers about her life, her mother's death from fever when she was 16, the struggles she and her father faced keeping their small ranch, her knowledge of healing herbs learned from an old Mexican woman who had once worked for them. In return, Two Rivers shared stories of his people, of their traditions and beliefs, of the wife and daughter he had lost to a settler's raid, and of his decision to walk a path of peace despite his grief. "Tomorrow," he said as the fire burned low, "I will teach you to use a Comanche bow. If Thornton's men return, you should not be defenseless." Sarah looked at him in surprise. "You would teach me your ways of fighting?" Two Rivers' expression was solemn. "I would teach you to survive. That is what we both must do now, survive and remember those we have lost by living as they would wish us to." As Sarah returned to the teepee that night, she realized that something had shifted within her. The boundary between her people and his people seemed suddenly arbitrary, a line drawn in sand that could be washed away by the simple truth of human compassion. She fell asleep listening to the soft singing of Morning Sky, a Comanche lullaby that needed no translation to convey its message of hope and healing under the vast star-filled Texas sky. The morning sun cast long shadows across the camp as Two Rivers demonstrated the proper way to hold a Comanche bow. Despite her still healing ribs, Sarah was determined to master the unfamiliar weapon. "Your arms are strong from ranch work, too," Rivers observed as she drew the bowstring back with surprising steadiness. "But your mind is still fighting the pain. Let it flow through you, acknowledge it, then release it with the arrow." Sarah took a deep breath, wincing slightly at the pressure on her ribs. She focused on a distant tree, exhaled slowly, and released the arrow. It flew straight, embedding itself in the trunk just inches from the mark Two Rivers had indicated. "Not bad for a white woman," Morning Sky commented from where she sat grinding herbs. Her weathered face creased in a rare smile. "Again," Two Rivers instructed. "This time, feel the connection between your eye, your hand, and your target. They are not separate things." By midday, Sarah had emptied her quiver a dozen times. Her muscles ached, but there was satisfaction in the growing accuracy of her shots. As they paused to eat a simple meal of rabbit stew, Sarah noticed Two Rivers watching the horizon with an intensity that made her uneasy. "What is it?" she asked. "Dust," he replied simply. "Riders coming from the direction of Laredo, many horses." Sarah's heart raced. "My father?" Two Rivers shook his head. "Too many. A search party perhaps, or ... He left the alternative unspoken. "Thornton," Sarah whispered, her hand instinctively moving to the bow at her side. "Gather only what you need," Two Rivers said, rising fluidly. "We leave in 5 minutes." Morning Sky was already packing her medicines into a deerskin pouch. "The spirits warned me last night," she said matter-of-factly. "I have prepared." They moved with practiced efficiency, loading minimal supplies onto Two Rivers' horse and the Two Rivers' horse, and a smaller pony that belonged to Morning Sky. Within minutes, they were heading deeper into the rocky terrain that flanked the campsite. "Where are we going?" Sarah asked as they picked their way through a narrow ravine. "There is a place where the rock forms natural caves," Two Rivers explained. "My people have used them for generations when hiding from enemies. But they might track us," Sarah argued. "I won't bring danger to you both." Two Rivers glanced back at her, a hint of amusement in his dark eyes. "Do you think I would leave tracks for them to follow? The rocks will hide our passage, and the coming storm will wash away any sign." Sarah looked up, noticing for the first time the dark clouds gathering on the western horizon. "Storm?" Morning Sky nodded. "A big one. Good medicine for us, bad medicine for those who hunt." They traveled for hours, taking paths that seemed to disappear into solid rock, doubling back occasionally, and once wading through a shallow stream for nearly half a mile. By the time they reached the caves, the first heavy raindrops were beginning to fall. The cave entrance was hidden behind a stand of juniper trees. barely wide enough for the horses to pass through. Inside, it opened into a series of interconnected chambers, cool and dry despite the growing fury of the storm outside. "We are safe here," Two Rivers said, helping Sarah dismount. "Even if they find the entrance, they would be fools to enter. These caves are a maze to those who don't know them." As they settled in, lighting a small fire in a chamber where the smoke could escape through natural vents, Sarah felt a strange mixture of fear and peace. She was a fugitive now, hunted by Thornton's gang, separated from her father, dependent on people she had been taught to fear all her life. Yet there was also clarity in her situation, a stripping away of pretense and social boundaries that revealed a simpler truth. They were three humans united by their desire to survive and to protect one another. "Tell me about your father," Two Rivers said as they shared a meal of dried meat and wild berries. "What kind of man is he?" Sarah smiled, the memory of Thomas Blackwood's weathered face bringing both comfort and concern. "Stubborn as a mule and twice as loyal. He came west after the war between the states, wanting nothing more than peace and a place to build something lasting. A warrior who seeks peace," Morning Sky nodded approvingly. "Like my grandson." Sarah glanced at Two Rivers. In surprise, "You are her grandson?" "By blood, no," he replied. "By choice and by the bonds that matter more than blood, yes. My grandson of the heart," Morning Sky clarified. "His mother was my dearest friend. When she died bringing him into this world, I raised him as my own." The revelation shifted something in Sarah's understanding. These people, whom she had been raised to see as fundamentally different, had family bonds, adoption, love, and loyalty, just as her own people did. "What will you do?" Two Rivers asked. "When you return to your world, will you tell them a Comanche saved you?" The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Sarah considered it carefully before answering. "I will tell the truth," she said finally, "all of it. How men of my own kind left me to die, and how you chose mercy when you had every reason not to. Whether they listen or not, the truth deserves to be spoken." Two Rivers held her gaze for a long moment, then nodded once. "Truth is a powerful medicine, sometimes bitter, but necessary for healing." As night fell and the storm raged outside, Sarah found herself learning more about Comanche culture from Morning Sky, their beliefs about the stars, their respect for the natural world, their complex social structures that balanced individual freedom with communal responsibility. In return, Sarah shared stories of her life in Boston before coming west, of books and schools, and the technological changes sweeping across the eastern states. "Your world moves very fast," Morning Sky observed. "Always rushing toward tomorrow without honoring today." "Perhaps that's why I've always felt more at home here in the West," Sarah admitted. "Life is harder, but somehow more real." As they prepared to sleep, Two Rivers announced his plan for the morning. "I will scout the area at dawn. If it is safe, we will return to my camp, gather more supplies, and then I will take you to your father's ranch." "And if it's not safe?" Sarah asked. Two Rivers' expression was grim. "Then we prepare for a fight. Thornton's men are not the only danger in these lands. The army has been hunting my people with renewed vigor since the last moon." Sarah felt a chill at his words. She had become a bridge between two worlds at war, trusted by neither, vulnerable to both. "Sleep now," Morning Sky advised, seeing the worry in Sarah's eyes. "Tomorrow's troubles will come whether you greet them rested or weary." As Sarah laid her blanket near the dying fire, she realized with sudden clarity that whatever happened next, she could never return to the person she had been before. The woman who had ridden confidently into Laredo days ago no longer existed. In her place was someone new, someone shaped by pain and rescue, by cultural boundaries crossed, and by the simple, profound discovery that humanity transcended the artificial divisions of race and tribe. With that thought, She closed her eyes and surrendered to sleep. The sound of the storm and Two Rivers' soft Comanche prayer, creating a strange but comforting lullaby. Dawn broke with the hushed silence that follows a powerful storm. Two Rivers left to scout the area while Sarah helped Morning Sky prepare a tea from herbs that would continue the healing of her injuries. "Your body mends quickly," the elderly healer observed, her keen eyes noting how Sarah moved with less pain. "Your spirit is strong." "Thanks to your medicine," Sarah replied, sipping the bitter brew. Morning Sky shook her head. "Medicine only helps those who wish to heal. Some choose to hold on to their wounds instead." Before Sarah could respond, Two Rivers returned, his expression grave. "Thornton's men camped 5 miles east during the storm. They have split into 2 groups. One continues to search this area. The other rides toward your father's ranch." Sarah set down her cup, her hand trembling slightly. "How many ride to the ranch?" 3 men, including Thornton himself. "We have to warn my father," Sarah said, already reaching for her borrowed bow. Two Rivers nodded. "Yes, but we must be careful." The other group, 4 men, they search these hills with a tracker from the settlement. "A tracker who knows these lands?" Morning Sky asked sharply. "Mexican man, old but skilled. He reads the land well." Sarah remembered Alejandro Vasquez, a former vaquero who sometimes worked for the sheriff. "If it's Vasquez, he's not a bad man. He might be forced to help them." "Good or bad doesn't matter if he leads them to us," Two Rivers replied pragmatically. "We will take the hidden trail through Thunder Canyon. It is longer but safer." They packed swiftly, erasing all signs of their presence in the cave. The horses, rested from the night, moved with quiet purpose as Two Rivers led them through a labyrinth of narrow passes and dry creek beds. By midday, they had covered considerable ground, the landscape gradually changing from rocky highlands to the scattered mesquite and cacti that marked the approach to more settled lands. "Your father's ranch lies beyond that ridge," Two Rivers said, pointing to a distant line of hills. "We should reach it by sunset if we push hard." Sarah nodded, determination etched on her face. "Thornton will expect the ranch to be defended only by my father. He won't anticipate us." "Or this," Morning Sky added, producing a small bundle wrapped in buckskin from her saddlebag. She unwrapped it to reveal an old army revolver, taken from a soldier who no longer needed it. "It has 6 bullets." Sarah accepted the weapon, checking it with practiced hands. Her father had taught her to shoot years ago, believing that a woman alone on the frontier needed such skills. "Thank you," she said simply. As they continued their journey, Sarah found herself watching Two Rivers, the fluid way he moved, his constant awareness of their surroundings, the quiet dignity that seemed as much a part of him as his physical strength. She realized with a start that she had come to trust him completely, this man who by all the rules of the frontier should have been her enemy. "What will you do after this?" she asked as they paused to rest the horses. "The army is searching for your people. Will you join them in the reservations?" Two Rivers' face hardened. "The reservations are places of slow death. My people were not meant to be penned like cattle." He was quiet for a moment before continuing. "There are still free bands in the territories to the west. Perhaps I will find them." "And leave your grandmother?" Sarah asked softly. Morning Sky answered for herself. "I am too old for long journeys. The mission at San Antonio has a place for me. Some of the brothers there respect our healing ways and learn from them." The sun was beginning its western descent when they finally approached the Blackwood Ranch. From their vantage point on a small rise, they could see the modest house, barn, and corral. Smoke rose from the chimney, and Sarah felt a surge of hope. At this sign of life, 3 horses at the hitching post, Two Rivers observed, his keen eyes narrowing. "And your father's wagon is gone." Sarah felt her blood run cold. "They're already here. And Paya must be out checking the herd." Two Rivers studied the situation, his expression unreadable. We approach from the back. There is cover in the creek bed that runs behind the house. They left the horses concealed in a stand of cottonwoods and made their way on foot through the dry creek bed, using its banks for cover. As they drew closer, they could hear voices, men laughing roughly, the sound of breaking glass and furniture being overturned. "They're ransacking the house," Sarah whispered, her grip tightening on the revolver. 3 men, Two Rivers confirmed after a careful assessment. 2 inside, 1 watching from the porch. "I can take the one on the porch with the bow," Sarah sighed, surprising herself with her calm determination. Two Rivers glanced at her, respect evident in his eyes. "And I will handle the 2 inside. Morning Sky will remain here as our retreat if needed." The elderly woman nodded, already preparing a small bundle of healing supplies, her face set in grim preparation for what might come. They moved swiftly once the plan was set. Sarah positioned herself behind the woodpile at the edge of the yard, nocked an arrow, and took a deep, steadying breath. The guard on the porch was Thornton's youngest follower, a man barely out of boyhood named Jenkins, who had a reputation for cruelty despite his youth. She drew the bowstring back, feeling the now familiar tension in her shoulders, focusing as Two Rivers had taught her. The arrow flew true, striking Jenkins in the shoulder and sending him tumbling from the porch with a cry of pain and surprise. Two Rivers moved instantly, a shadow flowing across the yard and into the house. Sarah heard shouts, a gunshot, the crash of breaking furniture, and then silence. Heart pounding, she approached the house, revolver ready. Inside, she found Two Rivers standing over the unconscious forms of Thornton and his remaining henchmen. A thin line of blood ran from a cut on the Comanche's arm, but he seemed otherwise unharmed. "You didn't kill them," Sarah observed, surveying the scene. "Death is easy," Two Rivers replied. "Justice is harder." He began binding the outlaws with rope from his belt. "Your father will want the satisfaction of seeing them face the law." As if summoned by his words, they heard the sound of a wagon approaching. Sarah moved to the window and felt relief wash over her at the sight of her father driving the team, his rifle across his knees. "Pa!" she called out, stepping onto the porch. Thomas Blackwood nearly fell from the wagon in his shock and haste. "Sarah, my God, girl, I thought you were dead." He embraced her with desperate strength, then held her at arm's length, taking in her healing bruises and borrowed clothes. His eyes moved past her to Two Rivers, who had emerged from the house, and his expression darkened with confusion. "Pa, this is Two Rivers," Sarah said firmly, stepping between them. "He saved my life when Thornton's gang left me for dead, and he just helped me capture the men who did it." Thomas Blackwood looked from his daughter to the Comanche warrior, decades of frontier prejudice warring with the evidence before his eyes. "You saved my daughter?" he finally asked, his voice rough with emotion. Two Rivers nodded once. "She has a strong spirit. It was not her time to die." The older man seemed to struggle with himself before extending his hand. "Then I owe you a debt I can never repay." Two Rivers clasped the offered hand briefly. There is no debt between those who choose to see each other as human first. As the sun set over the Texas plains, an unlikely group gathered around the Blackwood kitchen table, a rancher, his daughter, a Comanche warrior, and an elderly medicine woman. Outside, the bound outlaws awaited the sheriff's arrival, and beyond that, an uncertain future loomed for them all. "You'll be welcome here," Thomas was saying to Two Rivers, "if you ever need shelter or work. No questions asked." Two Rivers nodded his thanks. "The army moves closer to my people's lands each day. Perhaps I will take you up on your offer someday." Sarah, watching the interaction, felt a profound sense of both ending and beginning. The attack had nearly taken her life, but in surviving it, she had gained something unexpected, a bridge between worlds, a chance to help create understanding where there had been only fear and hatred. "The story of what happened here," she said quietly, "of how a Comanche warrior chose mercy when he found a white woman left for dead. That story needs to be told. Morning Sky smiled, her ancient eyes bright with approval. Stories are powerful. Medicine. They can poison minds or heal hearts, depending on who tells them and why. As night settled over the ranch, Sarah realized that the journey ahead would not be easy. The frontier was changing, the old ways of both white settlers and native tribes being transformed by forces beyond any individual's control. But in this moment, around this table, a small victory for humanity had been won, a recognition that compassion could transcend the artificial boundaries of race and culture. To survival, she said, raising her cup in a toast. And to what comes after survival. Two rivers added, meeting her eyes with quiet intensity. The harder journey of living with truth. Thomas Blackwood looked between them, sensing the profound change in his daughter and perhaps, Sarah hoped, feeling the beginning of a change within himself as well. To truth then, he said, joining the toast, however difficult it may be. Outside, the stars emerged one by one, the same stars that had witnessed Sarah's ordeal and rescue, the same stars that would continue to shine long after all their stories had ended, impartial witnesses to humanity's capacity for both cruelty and redemption. On the wild Texas frontier,